There's things about Hajj which no one's going to tell you. Like,
what hotel shall I stay at? Where are the hotels? Where can I eat? Where shall I buy my dates? What shoes shall I wear? Where shall I get my meningitis certificate? What should I do if I'm taking my kids with me? Where do I get a SIM card from? Where shall I exchange my money? Why is this sticker so important?
So we created this video to go through all the little details that nobody tells you when going on Hajj and Umrah. Now keep in mind, this is not a guide on how to do Hajj. This is more of a traveler's guide with tips and advice on each part of your journey. We're going to be covering some invaluable stuff when it comes to Hajj and Umrah. So be sure to share this with everyone who's thinking about going on Hajj.
Or Umrah.
Or Umrah. Grab a pen and paper and make yourself a nice cup of tea. It's going to get quite intense. So we'll be covering, before you book, some basic knowledge on that. After you book, so what to pack, elderly medication, on flight, on the ihram, so intentions, that sort of stuff. Some tips on Umrah, some tips on Hajj, and some general advice as well. So here are some considerations you need to make before you book Hajj.
so let's go through some terms of Hajj so you understand what they mean. Dave, could you shut the door? There's a bit of a draft coming in. So draft obviously means transport. Obviously. The leaflets and the websites of Hajj agents, you'll see that they include draft. It just means transport. From Jeddah airport to Makkah or Medina airport to Medina, and then between Medina and Jeddah, and then back to the airport when you're coming back to the UK. And transport to Mina, Arafat and Muzdalifah. That's what draft means. So now coming on to food. When the Hajj agent says half board or full board, then what it means is a full board is breakfast, lunch and dinner. Whereas breakfast is just breakfast, and then half board, well, that's actually 2/3. It's breakfast and dinner. For the next bit, let's take a look at a map of Makkah to make it easier.
This is a map of Makkah. When you stay in Makkah, you're most likely to be staying near Masjid al-Haram in this area. During the days of Hajj, you'll go from your hotel near Masjid al-Haram to a place called Mina, which is here. You'll stay the first night in Mina, and at Fajr time, you'll make your way to Arafat, which is down here. You'll stay in Arafat until Maghrib time, and then from there, you'll make your way to Muzdalifah. In Muzdalifah, you'll stay the night, and at Fajr, you'll leave and go back to Mina. In Mina, you'll stone the Jamarat, do your Qurbani, and then you go to Masjid al-Haram, do Tawaf and Say, and shave your head, and then come back to Mina to spend the night. The remaining days of Hajj, you'll spend in Mina, stoning the Jamarat on each day. This is the place called Aziziyah, where some of you may be staying.
Someone once asked me, does a shifting package mean that there's something shifty with the provider? Anyway, shifting is simple. It means that during the days of Hajj, 2 days before usually and 2 days after, you'll be moved from your accommodation near Masjid Haram to a place called Aziziyah, which you just saw. That place, Aziziyah, is a lot cheaper, and that brings the prices down. Because during the days of Hajj, you're going to be checked into either Aziziyah or you'll be checked into the hotel near Masjid Haram that you had been staying in. The other advantage of a shifting package is that if you needed anything from your luggage, then popping into Aziziyah is going to be a lot easier than popping into the hotel near Masjid Haram. But that said, 2 days before and 2 days after, when you are in Aziziyah, it's very difficult to actually go to Masjid Haram and pray. With the non-shifting package, you'll come from your hotel near Masjid Haram straight into Mina and then straight back there. So you're more likely to not lose out on praying any prayers in Masjid al-Haram. Now coming on to the Hajj agent themselves, they have to be ATOL registered. That's with any travel agency in the UK, by law they have to be. Some agents use the ATOL of another travel agent, and if they do, they ought to be telling you that as well. The Ministry of Hajj produce a list of their approved agents every single year so that you can compare that to the people that you're booking with. There's also an organisation called LHO who have come together and formed a list of trusted providers. There's also other accreditations that travel agents can have, like IATA, ABTA or TTA. All of this can get really confusing, so on Hujaj.co We list only trusted providers who have these relevant accreditations, and if they are a reseller, then we'll be very clear with you about it.
So let's talk about how to prepare for Hajj once you've booked.
Now, outside of the walking that you're going to do from your hotel or in the airport, the walking that you're going to do inside Masjid Haram when you're doing your Umrah is approximately 3 to 7 kilometers. It depends how close you do Dawaf to the Kaaba. What I would do is start walking really early on while you're still at home and go to the park. That's because I was thinking that mountain is Safa and that one's Marwa. And bear in mind, it won't be as dark and dreary as in England, and it won't be so cold. Instead, it will be boiling hot. And you're walking on marble flooring, most likely and you'll be walking on marble. And the flooring will be marble, not this obviously green soft grass. And the walking you do apart from that won't be in your trainers, so there's no point walking in trainers. So what I do is I use flip-flops, the Crocs flip-flops, which I think are the most comfortable ones to walk in Ihram. And one of the things you got to bear in mind is that Hassan, come on. Another thing to mention is wheelchairs are allowed, but push chairs are not. So if you are taking children, push chairs is something that they won't allow into Masjid al-Haram. And investing in a wheelchair is a good idea, as I said before. It's one of the things I do when I go with my children is take a harness. It's very simple. You tie the child around, or you take one of these, which they put their hand in and you put your hand in. What I do is I combine both. Remember to put a name tag on them. Close it, wrap that part around and put that around your hand. It allows a lot more movement. Also bear in mind, you won't be wearing jeans or any bottoms. You'll be wearing ihram. And I'm not saying you need to practice walking in a lungi, but at the same time I would say maybe take some Vaseline along with you.
In Masjid Haram, there's nowhere to really put your shoes, so keeping them on you at all times is the best way. And a string bag is pretty useful for that. It's great to get like a spray bottle that you can just spray yourself with water while you're walking out in the heat. And it's also good to get like an electric fan or something as well. These things really help you cool down. Always carry a water bottle with you. In Masjid Haram, it's very easy to fill it up with Zamzam as well. And it's very easy in that temperature to get dehydrated. So always carry a water bottle with you. And when you're not in Ihram, then covering your head with something is a good idea as well. In fact, if you take your head covering and douse it in a bit of water and then put it on your head, it can help cool you down faster. If you do forget anything at home, or if you haven't bought anything with you, then there's supermarkets available. There's a supermarket called Bin Dawood, and everything is easily purchasable from there.
Let's talk about medication that everyone should pack and considerations to make with the elderly.
So apart from running Hajjaj.co, I also am a pharmacist. When you go on Hajj, you're going to be walking more than you've ever walked in your life. So if you have any issues with walking long distances, have a physical disability, or are very old, I suggest you take a wheelchair. Now you might not use a wheelchair in the UK at the moment, but once you do go to Saudi Arabia, you'll need it. When my mum went 2 years ago, she never uses a wheelchair in the UK. But when she was there, after the first day, she desperately needed one. When it comes to buying a wheelchair, in Saudi Arabia, you can buy one from a pharmacy. But in the UK, pharmacies generally don't sell them. My advice would be to buy a second-hand one from eBay, Gumtree, or any other website selling second-hand items. Now coming on to medicines that you're going to need. Definitely take paracetamol in case you get a fever, and ibuprofen. So Zamzam comes in 2 different tanks in Masjid Haram. One has cold Zamzam and one comes as warm or room temperature. I would stick to drinking the warm one because drinking the cold one can make you have to rely on soothers or sucking sweets because you'll end up getting a sore throat. Other things that can happen quite often when you go on Hajj and Umrah is tummy upsets. I'd take something like a Reni. I'd also take something like oral rehydration salts. But one important thing, in Saudi Arabia, loperamide is banned. So this is something you use when diarrhea doesn't go away. If you are on insulin, then the insulin needs to stay cold while you're traveling. So buying something like a Frio bag would be ideal.
I'm gonna pause that.
Pause here.
Oh, you guys recording?
What? Oh, it's okay.
Control drugs such as tramadol, codeine or dihydrocodeine, diazepam or zopiclone, or even more serious control drugs such as morphine or fentanyl patches. Make sure you have a record of these medications that you're taking and a letter from your doctor explaining that you are on these medications. But for some things you'll have to pop into your GP surgery, such as women who want to control their menstrual cycle or control drug medications. In fact, it might be a good idea to get a list of repeat medication from your doctor, not just for border control, but just in case you lose your medication. And that way you can just pop into your local pharmacy over there and purchase the medication that you need. The doctor can also write a letter for you requesting wheelchair assistance at the airport. So if you are elderly, that's probably something to have a look at. The audio messed up for this part of the video. All I'm trying to say here is that in order to go on Hajj or Umrah, you'll have to have a meningitis vaccination. The GP is not the only place where you can get this meningitis vaccination. Some pharmacies offer this service as well. And sometimes they can be cheaper. And sometimes the GP can be cheaper. So it's probably worth giving a call to your local pharmacies and your GP to see who actually provides this service and what kind of price they're charging.
In this section, we're talking about the miqat and the flight, and there's an unfortunate little segment by Shoaib.
So if you're going to Jeddah first, you'll be reaching the miqat while you're still on a plane.
People are gonna even realize that they're aeroplane seats. It's too funny. It's too funny of a shot, man.
The pilot might the pilot might not actually announce. No, it's too funny.
Serious.
The pilot usually reminds you about 30 to 60 minutes before you land to read your intention, but he might forget. So about 30 to 60 minutes before you do land, read your intention, Allahumma labbaik umrah, well in advance. And when you do reach Jeddah airport, there won't be any tunnels to walk out from straight from the plane. You'll be walking out into the blistering sun down some metal steps, so be sure not to cover your head with anything because you are in ihram now. When you walk down the steps, a little bus will be waiting to take you to the airport. At the airport, you might end up waiting up to 10 hours, so be sure to pack some snacks from home. Can we have the toilet scene out there?
No, man, everyone knows how to do a stinja, man.
No, but they don't know how to do it on a plane, innit?
Yeah, but like, the airlines are gonna kill us.
Dave doesn't really want me to show you this right now, but I think it's really important. Every plane has one of these vomiting bags which are waterproof, and it's a lot better than using a cup or tissue, especially when you're in ihram, to do istinja. All you do, fill up the bag with a little bit of water and then use my one hand technique and pour away. You can thank me later.
Serious. Right, back to normality. This part's about Umrah and what to do when you get to Saudi.
When it comes to exchanging money, you can usually get better deals by exchanging it all in one go. Shop around, you can usually find yourself better exchange rates. However, while you're still in the UK, or when you get to the airport, you might want to exchange a little bit of money just in case you need it for your journey. Like if you wanted to buy a drink or some food or anything along the way. Okay, so this is the Hajj terminal in Jeddah airport. When you get here, you might have waited for hours and hours and you'll probably be really tired. You're going to want to run out the door, but they'll give you this sticker, and the sticker is important.
When you go to get a SIM card, then take this with you and your passport. They'll put this into the system and you'll be issued with a SIM card which lasts for around the period of Hajj.
Okay guys, I just want to show you where some of the hotels are around Masjid al-Haram. Right ahead over there we can see Anjum Hotel, and next to it or behind it is the Sheraton Makkah. Next to it we've got Jabal Umar Marriott Hotel, and then next to it is the Makkah Hilton Convention. Down here we've got the Hilton Suites Makkah, the Intercontinental Dar Al Tawheed Makkah. You've also got the Hyatt Regency Hotel. That there is the old Hilton, and next to that you've got the Conrad and Swiss Hotel Al Maqam. This is the clock tower. In the clock tower you've got several hotels. You've got Ritaj Al Bayt, Royal Dar Al Iman, Zamzam Hotels, Swiss Hotel, Fairmount, Movenpick, Rotana, which is sometimes called Al Marwa, Al Safwa. And then behind the clock tower you've got a lot of the other hotels, which it's probably best to look on Google Maps for that. If you get the opportunity to get to the door of the Kaaba, then don't just try to stay by the door, but try to move across to in between the door and Hajar Aswad, because that's where the Prophet put his face and his chest, and that's where du'as are answered. And that's Hajar Aswad next to the door.
During Safa and Marwa, you'll notice green lights. Where those green lights are, you need to do a light jog. The light jog involves you moving your arms and raising your knees up. So it's more like a commando march than an actual jog or run. If you feel you can't walk anymore, or if you get injured, then there's a few options available for you. You can either go and purchase a wheelchair yourself from Nahdi Pharmacy or another pharmacy. There's also options available in Masjid Haram. There's assistants who are there who wear green coats who can take you on Umrah and do Umrah with you at an additional cost. If you've completed your tawaf but you need help doing Safa Marwa, and Safa Marwa is actually the more difficult part of Umrah, then you can go to certain assistants who stand near Safa in the middle section wearing red coats, and they will take you on a wheelchair to do your sa'i. The last option is, during Safa and Marwa, you can hire a motor scooter on the 3rd floor of where Safa and Marwa are. You can go up. You'll notice that the ceiling of this area is slightly shorter than the ceiling of the other areas of Safa and Marwa. And there you can rent out a motor scooter and just drive yourself in between Safa and Marwa. When you get there, all of this will actually be completely natural. You'll see everyone else doing it. You'll remember, things will come to you. And it's actually really straightforward and easy. And when you've finished your rites of Umrah, you'll need to get your hair cut or shaved. There's 2 places that I think are the best for that. Towards Marwa, if you leave the masjid, then you'll see in English it'll say barbers. Just around there are barbers there. Or if you go to the clock tower, in the basement of the clock tower, there's many barbers there as well. Just make sure that when they do shave your head, that they use a fresh blade.
I'm going to show you where I get some desi food, which is not too far from the Kaaba right there. Behind where Tayyib's standing here, there's a ramp. Hold on, I think I'll show you from a different angle as well. On the side of the clock tower, there's a space where the railing is, and down there, if you go into the basement, you'll find yourself some good desi food. With regards to other food places like KFC or Hardee's and many burger places, there's many options available. There's a food court in the clock tower, and there's also another food court near Hyatt Regency, and there are several other places to eat as well. When it comes to Mina, generally most packages provide a full board service. However, there is an Al Baik there as well, and if you are going to eat Al Baik, I recommend the big sandwich.
Let's talk about Hajj and the most important day of them all, the day of Arafat.
Something I take with you for Mina is a suction hanger, which you can just attach and then hang something on there. Your ihram probably won't hang on there, but something smaller might. Generally, everybody uses coaches to go between Mina, Arafat, Muzdalifah and Mina. However, some packages do provide a monorail, which is really fast, and you can get from Mina to Arafat in a matter of minutes. However, with the train station is really high up, so you have to end up climbing, and my mum got really exhausted when we did that. On the day of Arafat, the most important time and when du'as are accepted is between Dhuhr and Maghrib. That's only a few hours. My advice is don't go to Masjid Nimra, don't go up Jabal Rahma either, because you'll end up wasting your time getting there and getting back. The best thing is to stay in the tent that you're in and just do du'as. It can be really easy to forget which du'as you actually wanted to make, because Hajj is such an exhausting journey that you can start forgetting what you wanted to ask for. My advice would be to write down on a piece of paper the du'as you want to ask. And if somebody has asked you to make dua for them while you're on Hajj, I'd write that down as well. The other thing I'd take definitely would be some razors, some disposable razors, because when the barbers can get really busy during the days of Hajj, it might be an idea for you and other Hajjis who are in your group to shave each other's heads, which is what we did. And when it comes to your qurbani, there's no sheep and goats and camels running around that you have to catch and slaughter. Your group leader is the person who's most likely just going to go and deal with it, and you're never going to see your lamb or a sheep or anything while you're there.
Aww. Plenty of cats though.
Plenty of cats.
And lastly, let's go through some general tips and advice.
If you're staying in Azizia and you want to go to Masjid Haram, it shouldn't cost you per journey, it shouldn't cost you more than £3 sterling. This advice fits pretty much any time that you go abroad, but with Hajj it's important because you're going there to do worship. Stay healthy. But, on the same note, don't start a new diet while you're there. That might upset your stomach in a different way. When it comes to buying dates, then Medina has a date market. If you just jump onto any taxi, they should be able to take you directly there. You can shop around and you can get some really good discounts as well.
Okay, so we made a quick video showing you how to get to the date market, which you can see on the right hand side. We left from gate number 5 and onto the road, take a right, walk all the way down till you get to the Green Tower Hotel. Behind that, you'll just keep walking down and you end up at the date market. I get them off this guy here. Maybe if you mention my name, you might get some discounts.
But with regards to Zamzam, airlines don't allow water on the plane anymore. The only thing you can take is per person a sealed bag which you can purchase from Jeddah airport. You just take your passport, you take the, it's very cheap to buy, and then you get a sealed pack of Zamzam, and that's one per person. When it comes to buying gifts, then my advice would be not to overburden yourself with these worries. You're there for Hajj, you're not there to buy anybody a souvenir. But if you do want to buy something for your children or something, then there's many shopping centres. Even the basement of the clock tower has a lot of options available for masallas or hats, abayas, and many other Islamic gifts. During the days of Hajj, that area will be one of the most busiest places in the world. Millions of people are going to be trying to do the exact same rites that you're going to be doing as well. And they're all trying to worship just like you're trying to worship. No one's trying to get in your way. It's easy to lose your temper. At times like those, just have the utmost patience. The government are trying to do crowd control. So when you see army officers directing you in a particular way, then go in that particular way, even if it's longer. The last thing you want is to go in the opposite direction and end up being in more of a problem.
Now, I know we've been through a lot, but keep in mind that Hajj actually isn't hard at all, and everyone around you will be doing the same thing. So there's always plenty of people to ask, when you need help and advice at any stage of the journey. I will say that, if you did find this content useful, that you do share it with everyone you know, share it with your family and friends, people who are going on Hajj and Umrah, and get the word out. And also I'd say subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel, for more Hajj and Umrah related content, and stay tuned.
Smash that subscribe button!